I inherited the 100-year-old family business from my grandpa, but my siblings are actively sabotaging it because they're jealous they didn't get picked. I, 34 am, never expected to be in this position. Growing up, Grandpa's hardware store was just a fun place to hang out on weekends, stacks of lumber to climb, bins of nails to sift through, and the constant smell of sawdust and paint. I loved helping customers find the right screwdriver or watching Grandpa mix paint colors. But I never imagined I'd one day be responsible for keeping the doors open on this century-old family business. J&J Hardware has been a fixture in our small Midwestern town since 1924. My great-grandfather John started it with his brother Joe, hence J&J, and it's been passed down through the generations ever since. Grandpa took it over from his dad in the 60s and poured his heart and soul into the place for over 50 years. I always assumed my dad would inherit the store next, but he passed away unexpectedly when I was in college. After that, I started spending more time at J&J during breaks and summers, partly to be close to Grandpa and partly because I enjoyed the work. My younger brother Mark, 32M, and sister Sarah, 29F, were never as interested in the store. Mark went off to law school and Sarah became a teacher. Fast forward to last year. Grandpa's health was declining and he called a family meeting to discuss the future of J&J. To everyone's shock, he announced that he was leaving the store to me in his will. He said I had shown the most interest and aptitude over the years, and he trusted me to keep J&J thriving for another generation. I was stunned but honored. Mark and Sarah looked like they'd been slapped. Grandpa tried to smooth things over by explaining that they would each receive sizable cash inheritances, but it was clear they felt slighted. The meeting ended on a very tense note. Grandpa passed away a few months later. The funeral was somber and emotional, but underneath I could sense the simmering resentment from my siblings. As soon as the will was read, things came to a boil. Mark and Sarah were furious that I was getting the store while they only got money. They accused me of manipulating Grandpa and threatened to contest the will. I tried reasoning with them. I pointed out that I'd put in countless hours at the store over the years while they pursued other careers. I reminded them that Grandpa had always said J&J should stay in the family rather than be sold off. I even offered to split profits with them as silent partners. But they weren't having any of it. In their minds, I had stolen their birthright. That's when the sabotage started. At first it was just petty annoyances. Someone kept messing up our inventory counts, causing shortages of key items. Our website would mysteriously go down for hours at a time. Deliveries would get rerouted or cancelled. I strongly suspected Mark and Sarah were behind it, but I had no proof. I tried giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe they just needed time to process their anger. But things only escalated from there. One day I arrived to find a brick through the front window with a note that said thief. A week later, someone called in a false tip to the health department that got us shut down for 3 days. Then a shipment of lumber came in that was infested with termites, costing us thousands in damages and lost inventory. I was at my wit's end. I knew it had to be my siblings, but I couldn't bring myself to accuse them without evidence. These were the same people I'd grown up with, who I'd shared a backyard treehouse with, who'd been in my wedding party. How could they do this? The final straw came last month. I got a call at 2 a.m. from the police saying there had been a break-in at the store. I rushed over to find the place ransacked. Shelves overturned, merchandise destroyed, and crude graffiti on the walls. But worst of all, Grandpa's antique cash register, a prized heirloom that had been with J&J since the beginning, was smashed to pieces. As I stood there surveying the damage, something in me snapped. I'd tried to be understanding, tried to take the high road. But this was too far. This wasn't just an attack on me, it was an attack on Grandpa's legacy. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I called Mark and Sarah and asked them to meet me at the store. When they arrived, I confronted them directly about the sabotage. They tried to deny it at first, but I could see the guilt in their eyes. Finally, Mark broke down and admitted they were behind it all. He ranted about how unfair it was that I got the store, how Grandpa always liked me best, how they deserved a piece of J&J too. Sarah chimed in about feeling left out and undervalued. They tried to justify their actions, saying they just wanted to scare me into giving up the store. I let them vent for a while, then calmly told them I was pressing charges for the break-in and vandalism. Their jaws dropped. They pleaded with me not to do it, saying it would ruin their careers and reputations. I almost wavered, but then I thought of Grandpa's smashed register and steeled my resolve. I told them I would drop the charges on 2 conditions. 1. They sign legally binding agreements to never interfere with J&J's operations again. 2. They agree to family counseling to work through our issues. They reluctantly agreed. It's been a month now, and things have calmed down considerably. We're making progress in therapy, slowly rebuilding trust and addressing long-buried resentments. Mark and Sarah seem genuinely remorseful. They've even started helping out at the store on weekends, reconnecting with the family business they shunned for so long. J&J is getting back on track too. We've repaired the damage, restocked inventory, and business is picking up again. I still have a lot to learn about running things, but I'm determined to make Grandpa proud and keep J&J going strong for another 100 years. Looking back, I can see how this situation brought out the worst in all of us. Grief, jealousy, and poor communication nearly destroyed our family and a century of hard work. But I'm hopeful that by confronting these issues head-on, we can come out stronger on the other side. J&J was always meant to bring family together, not tear it apart. I think Grandpa would be happy to see us working side by side again, just like the original J&J did all those years ago. Edit: Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and supportive comments. I'll try to answer some of the most common questions. 1. Yes, I have security cameras installed now. Lots of them. 2. No, I'm not going to press charges at this point. I know many of you think I should, but I really want to try to heal our family if possible. The threat of charges was mostly to shock them into stopping the sabotage. I have their sign agreements if things go south again. 3. To those asking about the cash inheritances, Mark and Sarah each received about $500,000. The store is worth more on paper, but it's not exactly a liquid asset. They basically wanted to force a sale and split the proceeds. 4. Several people have suggested that Grandpa should have split ownership of J&J between the three of us. While that sounds nice in theory, I don't think it would have worked in practice. Mark and Sarah have their own careers and live in different states. They wouldn't have been able to contribute equally to running the store. I think Grandpa knew that and was trying to be pragmatic, even if it caused conflict. 5. For those wondering about my parents, my mom passed away when I was young. My dad remarried and had Mark and Sarah with his second wife. He died when I was 19, which is part of why I grew closer to Grandpa and the store. I think there may be some complicated feelings there about me not being their full brother that are contributing to this mess. 6. Thank you to everyone sharing similar stories of family business drama. It's oddly comforting to know we're not alone in this. Inheritance and family businesses are a minefield. 7. To the commenter asking if we sell propane and propane accessories, wrong hardware store, but I appreciate the King of the Hill reference. Update: It's been about 6 months since my original post, and I wanted to give you all an update on the situation. A lot has changed, some for better and some for worse. The good news is that J&J is doing better than ever. Remember that termite-infested lumber shipment? Well, it turns out that was a blessing in disguise. When word got out about our trouble, the community rallied around us. We had longtime customers and even competing businesses offering to help with cleanup and repairs. The local paper did a story on J&J's history and our recent challenges. That led to a surge of support, with people going out of their way to shop with us instead of the big box stores. We've had our best 2 quarters in a decade. The bad news is that things with Mark and Sarah have gotten complicated again. The family counseling was going well at first. We were making progress on communication and working through old grudges. Mark and Sarah seemed to be coming around on the idea of being involved with J&J in a limited capacity. But then last month, a lawyer contacted me out of the blue. Apparently, our estranged uncle, Grandpa's younger brother, had passed away. In his will, he left his 10% ownership stake in J&J to Mark and Sarah. I had no idea this uncle even had any claim to the business. He had a falling out with Grandpa decades ago and none of us had heard from him since. Now Mark and Sarah are pushing hard for more control of J&J. They're arguing that as 10% stakeholders, they should have a say in major business decisions. They've been showing up unannounced, demanding to see the books, and trying to override my choices on inventory and staffing. I consulted my lawyer, and legally they do have some rights as minority shareholders. But their behavior is making it nearly impossible to run the store effectively. We're back in this awkward standoff where they're not exactly sabotaging things, but they're constantly looking over my shoulder and second-guessing everything. I'm torn on how to proceed. Part of me wants to offer to buy out their shares just to have done with it. But another part of me is angry that after all the progress we made, we're back to this power struggle. Plus, I'm not sure I can afford to buy them out without taking on significant debt or selling off assets. I'm also worried about what Grandpa would think of all this. He clearly wanted me to run the store, but he also always emphasized the importance of family. Would he want me to compromise to keep the peace, or stand my ground to protect J&J's future? I've tried proposing a compromise where they can be non-voting shareholders who receive dividends but don't have operational control. So far they're not going for it. They seem to have latched onto this ownership stake as a way to finally get the validation and control they felt cheated out of before. So now I'm stuck trying to run a business with two backseat drivers constantly trying to grab the wheel. The store is doing well financially, but the stress is really getting to me. Some days I find myself wishing Grandpa had just sold the place and spared us all this drama. I'm not sure what my next move should be. Do I try to buy them out at any cost? Bring in a mediator? Offer them symbolic roles to satisfy their egos? I feel like I'm right back where I started, caught between my love for J&J and my increasingly strained relationship with my siblings. Any advice would be appreciated. I never thought running a hardware store would be easy, but I never imagined it would test my family ties like this either. Edit 2. Thank you all again for the outpouring of support and advice. You've given me a lot to think about. A few points of clarification. 1. To those suggesting I sell the store, I appreciate the perspective, but that really is a last resort for me. This place isn't just a business, it's a century of my family's history. I can't bring myself to be the one who lets it go without exhausting every other option. 2. Many have asked about my stepmom, Mark and Sarah's mom. She's still alive but has stayed out of this conflict for the most part. I think she feels caught in the middle and doesn't want to take sides against any of her children. Can't say I blame her. 3. For those curious about the financials, J&J does about $2 million in annual revenue. It's not making us rich, but it's stable and profitable. We own the building outright, which helps a lot with overhead. 4. To the legal experts weighing in, yes, I do have a lawyer helping me navigate this. We're looking into whether Grandpa's will supersede the uncle's in terms of operational control. It's murky legal territory. 5. I appreciate all the creative suggestions for how to resolve this, from offering them manager positions to staging an undercover boss-style reveal. You've definitely given me some out-of-the-box ideas to consider. I'll post another update once there are any major developments. In the meantime, I'll be behind the counter at J&J, mixing paint and cutting keys just like Grandpa taught me. No matter what happens with the ownership drama, the heart of this business will always be serving our community one hammer and nail at a time. Update 3. It's been a year since my last update, and I wanted to share some significant developments with you all. After months of tension and legal back and forth, we finally reached a resolution with Mark and Sarah. We brought in a professional mediator who specializes in family business disputes, and after several intense sessions, we came to an agreement. The key points are: 1. Mark and Sarah retain their 10% ownership, but as silent partners with no operational control. 2. They receive quarterly dividends based on the store's performance. 3. We established a family council that meets twice a year to discuss the business's overall direction, giving them a voice without day-to-day interference. 4. I have the option to buy out their shares at a pre-agreed price over the next 5 years if I choose to. It's not a perfect solution, but it's one we can all live with. The store is running smoothly again, and our relationships are slowly healing. We even had a family dinner last month without any arguments about J&J, a small miracle in itself. I've learned a lot through this ordeal about balancing family dynamics with business needs. It's been challenging, but I feel like we're finally honoring Grandpa's legacy the way he would have wanted. Thanks again to everyone who's followed our story and offered advice. Your support has meant more than you know.